Rebecca Baibak. She is with Integrus, the architect design firm up in the wonderful area of Seattle, Washington. Thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here.
All right. So the overarching theme with K-12 is radically student-centered approach, right? And if you could help us with maybe what principles guide you when you design spaces that really fit into the student center of learning, make it student-centric. What do you go through and what guides you?
Yeah, so to create student-centered learning, it begins with listening to the students, which can look very different based on the age of the students that you're working with.
So you actually get into the weeds and talk to students.
We do, and it's really interesting. We have a series of different activities that we do, different manipulatives to evoke kind of what inspires them and what motivates them and how they learn best as they go through the day. And as we think about that, we hear things that you might, expect kids, particularly young ones, to say, like, I want to slide, and can I, send rockets? Or, we had some really, a really high achieving school where they are like, can you design a really sustainable school where all the water that runs off the roof spins a turbine and generates electricity? And will that feed our school, or you feed the energy for our school? Yeah. So we actually are finding this next generation actually pushes us to think beyond what we normally would think about and prioritize. And we've been fortunate to work with a lot of districts that really embrace their perspectives and want them to actually influence what we build and design. Just to kind of share a couple other examples that where the kids have influenced it. We were designing a school that was basically located at shared property with a park. And the school district didn't want to fence the property and prevent the community from using it at times that are beyond a school day. So the thinking about going to an internal circulation, because the school had always been external circulation, which meant that it was kind of like people refer to as California school, where there's a lot of doors, and they wanted a safer environment for learning. And as we were working with the kids, they're like, we love going outside. Don't take that away. That's our moment of relief. It's our moment to reset. We can be loud. People don't care. And so it inspired a design that had a courtyard that actually had artificial turf in it. So the kids literally could do cartwheels as they were going from class to class if they just went outside. So it's really great to be able to have that voice influence where we're going.
Yeah. So I was a head of school in a small independent school in Vancouver, Washington, a couple of years ago. Okay. And so, where you live, weather is ever moving constantly, right? So are you at a point where you collaborate with the schools to kind of envision things that are indoor, outdoor mobility? Kind of give us a little example of what you look for in that vision.
Yeah. So in thinking about the indoor, outdoor, you definitely want to have rain protection in the Seattle area because, it does rain when the kids are in school. We find the kids actually don't care as much as the adults do about that, but we want to provide variety of experience. And we know also that the time that the kids have choice on how they spend their time and connect with their environment is pretty minimal. And so thinking about what is that time in between the different destinations that they need to go through in their day, and obviously that'll vary from an elementary learner to a high school learner, and then locating those opportunities for them to get outside, undercover, maybe, those kids who don't care, but they're still easily supervised. And so we have been seeing a lot of success with having the cafeteria commons that's really has got a covered area, and it connects directly to either a park or a playground or a field area, so the kids can seamlessly flow back and forth. And then also providing opportunities, particularly at the elementary age, where if it's like, okay, we know kids are going to eat better and support themselves if they can go play first. And so what are those amenities that allow them to go outside first? And then when they come back in, they got hand washing, they got the lost and found, because inevitably they lost half their clothes while they were outside. And then they can make good choices and then go eat their lunch and then go back to class. And so thinking differently about some of the sequence has been really impactful.
Right. So you have these amazing ideas. And so you have vision, you have case studies, and you have things that work. How do you kind of coerce or change the mind of maybe some educators that are a little more fixed-minded on making some of these changes?
They're really, it's valuable to go on site tours with your planning team. We always encourage when usually it's a principal who's putting together that planning team of local educators in the building, that he gets those that are progressive minded, those that are influential with their peers, and those that might need to be stretched. And through going to look at different schools together, and often they're not even exactly the same model. So it's like, oh, let's think about if you're doing designing an elementary school, what are the different middle schools like where the kids are going to be going? And how can we be thinking about these environments to prepare the students for what's next? So it's getting them to think beyond what their typical world is and staying focused on the learner. That is usually where we get them to stretch. And if we can get those students or the educators that are a little more set in their ways to stretch, they often become our best advocate for the new building. And then it's just constantly thinking about how do we give permission to educators as they're using their building. I happen to have a new educator in my house. She graduated from college, living back at home. And she's currently working as a substitute. And she very eagerly shares her experiences and what makes a difference as she goes going to different buildings. And it's heightened my awareness to the fact that these schools that we're designing are constantly having not just new students, but new educators. And the buildings either need to be intuitive or we need to leave them breadcrumbs so that they know what they're allowed to do and so they can leverage their facilities in new and different ways. Teachers often, they want to follow the rules. They want to set a good example, and we are giving them permission in a lot of the new buildings to do things differently, but they don't know it. So
That's awesome. Great perspective. Thank you so much for your work, and thanks for joining us today.
happy to be here. Talk to you soon.